maybe.
Oh, everybody's great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You guys sleep.
my wife is being a super trooper and is up like cleaning the house and everything already.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy, man.
That's awesome. But you both are coughing.
No, no, I'm not. I just had
Okay.
like something, saliva, I think, in the back of my throat.
uh, Speaking of Colombia, I guess you had a little too much fun thinking about it. I guess. Well, let's take a look kind of what happened, right?
Not streaming,
Everything.
Shorty.
Oh, I'm not. Oops. Oh, and by the way, I processed everyone for the access. I apologize. It took a little bit. I gave everybody access to it, and then one of the weekends we can go over the indicators that you guys have if you like to use indicators, especially the orbs, right? They're still part of it psychologically when you're trading the first 30 minutes, which is your A period, right? And then it leads into the initial balance, which becomes important. And then once you pick up a little bit more knowledge about market profile, volume profile, you'll understand how it works, sentiment that's being set, and so on and so on. But I did give you guys access, so I apologize it took longer than usual. Bigger picture, right? So I just want to kind of start on the monthlies, right? We know this was a June value area high, and that was a big, big level, guys. We talked about this level being the prior balance high. They cracked above it. They tried to hold it. And of course, they tried to crack above this 2 days, right? And they were not able to. Today they peaked above it and they really, really got smacked, right? And usually when you're on these time frames, right, when you reject these big levels, you're giving yourself a little bit more range to play out, right? Because I mean, obviously they ran this pretty aggressively to the top, and guess what? They found aggressive sellers and they aggressively sent it back down. So now, the question is just talking big picture. It's still pretty important. What are we going to do here on the big picture, right? This level that we've had for some time now, this red line you guys are seeing, right? So most of you should be familiar with this now. So this is your 2-month POC. So the purple lines here that you're seeing, or whatever this color is your monthly profiles, and then you see how it's established, right? Where are the value areas for July? Value area low is being set here. So we're closing inside July value area. We're still framing up on the monthly, so don't get confused. I added this to the point on the bottom, and what that means is just the monthly is still making higher lows. We haven't switched it to framing down. I would say all the other time frames are now framing down for the most part. Considering that we're still inside this value area, I would say it's fairly important to see how we play out of this, right? If we do crack below this July value area low, especially the framing down aspect, which was our swing low as well, there's some gaps. There's a lot of room to potentially go down. The level that I've been targeting ever since we cracked inside of this is this level here, and that's our June value area low. Just for newer people as well, if you're not able to hold one value, and if you fail above it like you did here, its normal behavior is to look for buyers on the opposite side of the extreme. So they went here, they were not able to find it, and then they're going slowly. It doesn't mean it happens like it did today or 100 and what I think like 55 points a day. Those are not normal days in the stock market. Can you expect them with more volatility as more news about the war and such happen? Yeah, definitely, right? We can see that coming, but I would say don't expect to see these type of days constantly. The only problem with days like this, especially if you're a newbie, is if you're caught on the wrong side of the trade right out of the gate and you don't change your bias based off a level that I'm telling you guys, you have to have a level where your brain shift. It's almost like a computer. Like you have to shift your mindset. Like it has to shift. Like today, I don't know if you guys remember 54.80 when we were trading live. Do you guys recall that level at all?
Oh yeah.
So 54.80, and I'll tell you guys how I have that level, just so you guys can be on the same page. You guys remember this day when we had the sell-off with the liquidation? If you go on one of the watch lists we talked about, right, the value area high of this is going to be fairly important, and it happens to be at 54.80. And then obviously the next day they ran it up, gapped massively here between the major resistance. They went above, and this profile was a little shady. Like I mentioned, it's a D-shaped profile that had access on both ends, right? Typically, when you have access on both ends, that means what? Is there a lot of confidence?
No.
No, there's not a lot of confidence, right? And when you think about the IB, you peaked above right here, and then you closed inside the value, but slightly above the IB, right? But you spent a lot of time. You really never, you never confirmed you wanted to stay above the IB. When you have something like this that happens, right? So if you think about IB cracked here and at 10:45, you're already inside. What does that tell you about the IB? I need to switch it to split. All right, let's switch it. Here's your IB.
That it's kind of set.
Well, let's look. The IB set right here, right? Let's see. So look at the candles. I'm trying to find the candle somehow. What would this tell you if your C period is not closing above the IB?
Reject closing above the IB.
Well, here's your C period, right?
We're
If you're
rejecting
having
lower.
a range extension, right? Remember what the range extensions are. This is your IB for the day. Well, come on. Right here for this day, right? So if you're extending, and this is our A period, B period, C period.
It's set up. It started to set up as a trend day. Up.
Yeah, but when you break extensions, do you expect to fall inside the IB if you're gonna have a trend day?
No.
So what is it called when you fall inside the IB and your C period can't hold above?
Failed IB auction.
Failed IB auction. What does it say about failed IB auctions in the PowerPoint?
We're gonna test
To go to
the.
the other extreme.
Yeah.
The next day you're gonna test the opposite extreme. And boy, did they do that today, right? So as soon as you had this, you had the idea that they will test that. And then when you look at the, I'm just gonna go back to this. When you look at this price action, look at the IB where it was and look where we came really, really fast, right? I mean, they were just selling. And every period today, I don't know if you guys saw the chart I posted, was there any framing down periods beside at the end when we were having some fun with the J and K period here? There's really no framing. Down was all the way. And what that means is that every period, oops, just move something. Okay. That every period's making lower low, lower highs, lower low, lower highs. And then typically the level that you're watching for, let's say if I take B period and I'm looking to see what the C period does, what do you not want to see?
50% reclaimed.
Yeah, you want to see them stay below the 50% at all times. And if you go and you measure it by yourself, I actually asked TradingView to add like a color in the bar of the 50% of the bar so we can actually easily tell. They were not really interested in buying and reclaiming any levels. Here they had a little bit of a slowdown. I think this was F, right? The F came in here, and then we had, the J period continued, and then the K period here put in a little bit of access right here, L period inside, and then the M period, we had some fun here. I think it was like 70 to 80 or something that happened that we were looking for. But they really sold off. Like there was really no stopping for today. So that means there's a lot of aggressive sellers that when the price came to their levels, they let you have the inventory. And people that were dip buying today learned a really, really hard lesson that your sentiment at some point has to change. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense a little bit on the daily, but it also explained, from the monthly perspective where we are. We are, we're still not necessarily, this is not where you want to become very bearish until we are able to crack this. Once we crack this level here, 53.68 becomes, I would say, pretty quick, right? So if you look at this is going to be your, let me make sure I have. So this is your June value area low. once you crack this, you see there's no volume. There's a little bit of gap, and I think our contract settle was somewhere around here as well. So there's not much stopping us if we lose this low. There is a VPOC right here at 24.75. There's a chance that they could trap some people there. But if they've been accumulating, just think logically, right? They've been accumulating since July 24th till now. That POC from here might not hold much, right? Especially, you know, this is, I think it was like 3-4 days of balance here. So I wouldn't put too much weight on it. I would watch. If they start to bounce it, I would, you know, probably close my or trail out of it. But cracking this low zone right here, I mean, it opens up a bloodbath, right? Because people are going to be dip buying. They're going to buy in the lows. If they do something like this, where it's quick and they reclaim it, what do you do then?
Calls long.
Long. This is a super setup for long, and guess where they're going?
Far extreme.
They're going 54.80. There's a level that you guys, I mean, even, you know, last week we had it. This was your weekly. Do you guys remember that 05?
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty big, right? So that was your weekly POC, and now it's, I guess it's July POC. So it's pretty big, right? So I would say these are your levels right here, in between, right? You want to pay attention to every single one of these levels, and reclaiming of these levels leads to the next one. Especially if you lost this and reclaim it, then we can play the upside. If we lose this and we fail, you know, let's say to gain any momentum, that's a problem. But for tomorrow, when you look at on the daily, I'm just going to close a lot of these other profiles here and turn on the daily profile. What is the level that you guys look at here and you're like, man, you guys really have to reclaim it? Be careful how you answer. I have no idea where we are right now. I haven't switched to ETH for a moment.
In that 504?
5 would give you a lot of confidence, I would say. That's a pretty confident level here. And I would usually, as you guys know, when it's massive POC like this, it's not bad to have nice little zone like this. Is there any single prints that interests you guys?
Yeah.
531.
I mean, this is a big zone, guys. So there's a shitload of single prints. I mean, it's a really elongated profile. If we are to start closing these single prints quickly tomorrow, what does that tell you about the sellers?
Absorbed. Gone.
They're weak. So structurally, we look weak because there was a lot of aggressive selling. But if we are able to absorb these, right, if they're able to clean this up quickly, that's not good for the bears, right? I wouldn't be shocked if we are able to clean up and go above 30 tomorrow some reason. There's a high chance that we're going to rip again, right? But in between here, you have, I think it was the C and D period. The C period, and then you had the D period here. But this is some massive single prints here, and I would definitely mark these, right? And, you know, it happens to be right in that key zone that we have. And then this would be our single prints and IBL too at 50. If they can reclaim that, then, I mean, they really mean business. They're probably going to reverse this and probably go over 85, in my opinion. But for me, critical, I would say not day-to-day level is, again, 30. I would say between 36 and 29, that zone here, they have to reclaim that. Okay. In terms of day-to-day, like how would I play this? Well, if you just go on daily again, you rejected this value and we sold off the first time, and then magically you went from closing, you open at the high, you close at the low. Next day, magically you're here and you're saying you reject this value. You reject this 5 days out of here, and then the day after, what happens?
Sell off.
Oh man, we're back here. So if now, let's say during trading, I know we have some stuff coming out news. If you're able to crack out of this liquidating profile that got gapped against, right? This value area plays a role. What else can you do to help you figure out the key levels, or at least the extremes? Hopefully you guys pick this one up. You're back in balance. What do you do when you're in balance?
Fib it.
Okay, what else?
The SIGs.
Six.
The six. Yeah, just draw the six, man. You guys have your back in balance. I would say this little profile doesn't matter. Draw this. What does it tell you, right? So it looks like you want to hold 60, and then above this, you have 21, and then of course this POC is not going to go anywhere. So see if we behave here. How do we behave when we arrive at this level? And this is a big level on Delta, just so you guys, the 59.60, I mentioned it. This is a pretty decent level there. And then here you happen to have a little bit of also single prints in between here, right, in this area. So it gives you a nice opportunity. If they look above and fail, then you know that they're failing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days worth of extreme. And if they peak above and fail, then you're targeting this. 21 to 503, pretty good money. And then you lose this, you're targeting this. As of right now, let's just see where we are so I can gauge what they're doing. They're doing nothing. Yep. And you see where, they're right at the value area low here. So they're not far from it, right? Whenever you're not far from it, that means the perceived value is still close by. So I wouldn't say that this is necessarily as bad, but they got to reclaim this level. And then if they reclaim 80, I would play this to 503, 506 zone. And then above that, I would hit for this next level. So I will pay a lot of attention to this level here and then 80. How do we open and where do we open? As if it stands right now, you're opening below, obviously, where was the value area? Now I got to switch to RTH. So your value area low is here. If you're opening inside of it, right, it may be that we are accepting this now as our new value. And if that's the case, then it's going to be lose this by the bottom, come here, and you want to close your longs and look for potential on shorts until something changes, right? And we have a lot of, I think it's NFP tomorrow.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, how does that affect your mind state?
It's a binary event, right? I typically don't like to trade any of them, but I will see how they react to it. And if they lose a level and they reclaim it, that's typically how I play any binary events. Losing, reclaiming key levels, that's the best way you can play because that gives you reassurance that somebody's pretty adamant and aggressive to stay above a certain level or value is being rejected or accepted at a certain level of price. And
Shorty,
that's all you can do.
sorry, I have two quick questions.
Sure.
The first one, could you just show me your TPO settings for ES?
Yeah, let me go to RTH.
Okay, thank you. And then my second question, yesterday you mentioned the E period was inside, and because of that you expected a sell-off.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain that? Because I looked at the E period and I was thinking like inside bar, but it didn't look like it was completely inside, like part of it was above. So
E period was outside, not inside. Right?
Oh, outside on both sides, right? Up and down.
So it peaked below and above. And if you guys remember from the class, typically when you have an outside period like this, what do we do when you break the high or the low of that?
It's gonna run.
Go the other way?
Yeah.
You go with the trend. Whenever it breaks, if it goes down, you're going with the trend. You're not thinking too much. And then if it breaks to the upside, you're going to the upside. And they gave you fucking both scenarios. They went below, and then you went above. And I think we had an inside. I don't remember if we had an outside. I think J period was the outside, hence the 80 today. I guess there was a lot of confluence at it. And they came back, and of course, they closed at 65. So whenever you see an outside period like this, let's say J period, when you have a sell-off day like you did today, the outside days might not carry a lot of weight, especially when you're at IB3X, right?
Uh-huh.
That's some sure selling and really aggressive selling. But typically, if you have an outside day like this, I'm watching today. I was watching if they can crack this. I think it was, don't quote me. I think it was this level here, like 71 to 80 we were watching or something like that. We were playing, I think it was 71 and a quarter to 80. But the other option that also could have happened on the M period is what? Just to give you a scenario why I was really keen on the last 30. I was watching for spike, right? I was watching to see if this M period, if they're going to actually spike it down, and that would have been massive, because then, you know, the K period low would have been absorbed, and they would have sold off probably to this monthly framing down level, and that would have been nice, and it would have given us probably a better setup for tomorrow than what they're doing now. Right now, we have a okay setup. A spike today would have been a really good setup.
So the period isn't what's important. It's if you have an outside bar,
if you have outside period to the prior, that's what's important.
Yeah, and then so it's breaking in either direction that you're watching for.
Correct.
Okay.
Because outside periods mean we went above and we didn't like it. We went below and we didn't like it. Then you're looking for the next period. Say you don't know what you're talking about, J period. We're going lower.
Okay.
Or higher, whatever that is. Right.
Got it. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is really, really important on IBs. Like, and it's in your PowerPoint on the date types. When you have a date type that IB is broken to the both sides, 90% of the time you're going to close inside the IB. So if you see the IB cracked up, cracked down, and the auctions both times inside immediately, you're going to close inside the IB.
The 80% rule today, I had a really hard time shorting when we broke down very, very high. And, you know, I suppose I don't have the technology yet, the knowledge of, you know, understanding when. You guys talk about footprints all the time. I don't have it.
Yep.
It's probably a, you know, Chance convinced me today that it's a must.
It's not a must. I mean, it gives you a little bit of confirmation. It can also give you, if you're new to it, slow down. It can give you paralysis from, like, I'm sorry, like you're going to freeze from too much stuff at first. I would say if you don't have footprints for now, get comfortable with one thing first, right? Don't worry about footprints. Footprints can also be deceiving because you have to know the context that you're looking for, right? Just because you saw, like today, I don't know if you, I scalped 2 times, like off of the orders that came in on the bottom, and I was able to get out really quick, maybe 8-10 points. One was 6. And that was just based on the orders that was coming in. It was nothing to do with market profile. I was just looking at footprints. I think I posted it both times. And I said, man, massive size coming in. And we caught a little bit of a bounce. You can use footprints in that sense. And also when we were coming to 84 and 80 here, we saw massive size coming in and delta being absorbed. That tells you, like, hey, at this level, somebody's really selling. And you can use that to see it live as the orders are executed at the bid or the ask, right? And that's where the footprints are helpful. I would say don't worry about it too much, right? Even today, when you're talking about where you opened, right? It wasn't a very hard day. When you think about this, right? So they had the PDH here, which was at 88.5. We peaked above it. I think I wrote that there's a chance of look above and fail. They looked above, failed. If you, let's say you didn't short the PDH here, but you waited for this previous day value area high, 71. Well, I mean, that was good. We also had that 85 level, which was our June value area high, is also the prior balance. Anytime you go above a balance and you quickly get rejected like you did today, you should be aware that you should most likely short below that level.
Do you look for anything? I mean, do you lower your time frame to like to 1 minute, whatever?
No, I'm typically, if I'm looking at candles, I'm on 5 minutes to trade.
Yeah.
So today they didn't give you too much to think about, right? When you think about this is your value area high, I would say, you know, whatever. There's a little bit of access on one tick here, not a lot, but there's a little bit of access. They came back here, you know, they opened here, they went above, and then they broke the open. What auction type is that?
Open test drive.
Open, reject, reverse, right? You open, you reject, and you reverse because you're breaking the low of the open, right? So once you do open, reject, reverse, typically those tend to go in the direction, and then you cracked below this value area high. And remember, when you think about value area placement and value area width, like this is not that wide, Tom, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're thinking about, let's say, what is this, 23 points, and you compare it to others, right? 35 points, right? So what is the probability of 80% working out here versus 80% working out in this section? Which one has a higher probability? The 35 points or the
No,
23 points?
23 points.
Yeah, it doesn't have to travel as fast, so there's a high chance we're going to reverse it. So when I see that we're breaking out of a, let's say, value like we did today, we opened above it. And this is one of the slides I asked you guys to print it out. Do you guys remember what slide covers this?
Yeah, it has the name of all the opens, right?
It gives you every single one, and it tells you here. Let me see.
Running out of walls, Shorty, to put all this stuff up.
Oh no, man! Well, this is the one, right? So let's just think about the first here, right? And this is just common sense, right? I mean, there's not much to it to me, right? I don't really even think about this at this point. Oh, damn, it just became some weird box. If the stock opens above value area and then it falls back inside the value, this is a strong bear signal. Well, especially when it's a narrow value, right? It tells you a few things about the value and the participants. Was there a lot of other time frame participants here buying?
No.
Buying? No.
Well, how do you know they were participation at selling here? When they reached this key level of 85, what happened?
Quick
At
rejection.
3 o'clock, they brought it back. Look where they brought it back. I mean, they're bringing it back to value.
Okay.
And who buys between when you have a D-shaped profile? Who buys at the extremes?
Other time frame.
Or is it the short-term traders?
Other time.
Other time frames like to buy below. Typically, in between, you're going to have short-term traders trading in between. Somebody here cracked above it, right? They pushed it above, and this guy's like, oh, thanks for bringing it up. They sold it back aggressively here. Then they opened above the value, and then you peaked where you got sold off last time, and this guy's like, thank you so much. And I mean, if you go above a value and you're rejected, just like it explains here, if you open above the value and you go inside of it, especially when it's narrow, you're going to get punished. You're going to get punished quick. And it's not necessarily a rule. If you just think about price, value, acceptance, rejection, you went above, you got rejected. You opened above. Remember what I said? What is my least favorite open? Do you guys recall? Like in terms of placement?
In range, but outside of value.
And where did we open?
In range, outside of value.
Did we open like right here? This is the exact scenario where we opened above PD value area high, but below the high of the day, right? You open above the value area high and below the range top. I personally hate those openings. And these openings lead to the best 80% rules that exist, right? So if you play, that opening outside the range is good, but if you play these, but within the range, they cannot crack PD value area high. If they respect it, then it's good. But opposite of acceptance, where we dip inside the P, this is, if you lose it, you're going to the PD value area low, I guess. That's missing an L. Once the range top or bottom is broken, higher chances of a trend day. Well, I mean, this is your this is your PDL, and look what happened from PDL, and this bound already high enough. And I mentioned that, right? I think at one point it was like, I don't even know how long it was, like 51 points. This basically covered a whole day, And then they continued, I guess, from that level, another 84 points. So it's not really like technical knowledge. It's just thinking, is the price being accepted logically or not? And they had clear indication that if there was no price acceptance, how can I stop to buy here? I mean, how can I find any buyers here? Well, there was none the prior day because they skipped it. What about the day after prior to that? Well, that was the day they got liquidated. So now when you think about it, this was almost like a short cover rally, right? People that swung short, they got destroyed because the gap up destroyed their contract if they're on options. On futures, they probably got margin called. And then, phew, they decided to dump back to the liquidation value area. So I would say think price, acceptance, value. You don't necessarily have to print all of this out. If I was to print any slides out, and when we open, would be this slide. And I would know this bullets, and if I wake you up at 4 a.m., you should look at the chart and know how and which one is hitting.
Thanks.
Okay. I guess. Well, I'll be live tomorrow, and we're gonna wait probably a little bit more tomorrow, just see how they settle. I do expect to see if we don't break the lows with NFP, and if we're able to, let's say, go above this 80 here, I would expect us to, have a little speed up here and then a slowdown to get there. Maybe wait at least for the orbs to set in and let the NFP settle from 830 before we look for trades. And even, if you don't trade the morning, it's okay, right? You're your own boss. You take a morning off and you come back, and your job, believe it or not, is still waiting for you. Like you can still make trades and nobody's going to tell you what to do. So
Yep.
majority of you are in a rush to be in a trade at all times. And then I would say you need to slow down and let the trade. When I say let the trade come to you, you really have to understand what that means. And that means the setups. Some of you guys are like, okay, man, but this looks like a good short. And if I was to ask you to name any of the setups that we have from market profile or volume profile, you wouldn't have it.
Failed to
Go
hold
ahead.
the 2-day value area high on that one. Go to low. On the comeback to 480. Would you count that as one?
Say
At
it
the
again.
bottom. Sorry, at the bottom right there of today at the 480 level. Would you
Yep.
look at that as a break of that other value area high?
And a
And
failure.
then we come in, and we retest from the bottom and then go to the val.
Yeah. Yep. I would. And they pretty much did that, right? They did it here.
That's what honestly has been the biggest change for me, is that waiting for that retest. Like I see it break the value area high and I would just ape in and then you get wrecked. Whereas if you just let them retest it.
No, it works every time. And that's, you got, and your calmness level and your emotions will be much easier if you wait for this versus getting in immediately. It works. It's just that you guys have to learn how to wait. You have to learn how to wait.
Wait to short those things right there where you just marked.
Well, I'm just giving you the importance of that level, right? When they established that value area high, it was a fairly important value area high. And they came today, they dipped inside, came back. This was a great short because they put in a lower low, right? So this was a break of
Yeah.
structure. We just continued lower. We're making lower highs, lower lows. And then here you have same setup as here.
Mom.
If they cap up tomorrow on NFP and they run this shit back, I mean, it's just, I feel bad for people that are married to direction of bulls and bears, because we're still in the bracket, and believe it or not, it's doable if they do the same exact setup tomorrow. It's just that this profile, I haven't seen 150 points. I think it's more than that. I don't know the last time we had a bearish 156 points. I think I was 2 years younger. 156, yeah.
It almost seems normal just because of how much the index is or how high it is now.
I mean, and then I would just say, whenever you're in doubt, like, should you be bullish or bearish? Just keep in mind, like, where we are, right? So if you look at this profile, for instance, we had this bounce here, right? At 41, I think it was 40 that we were waiting for some time. And ever since then, guys, we've been running. Like, seriously, we've been running. So now, right, when you look at the profile itself, as you went up higher, right, why is there not a lot of buying here?
All-time highs.
Well, if it's a good auction and it's a healthy buying, you need to volume confirms auction, right? The point of volume is to confirm that the auction and the participation of institutional traders. If we are at all-time highs and volume is only good, let's say on down days,
institutions are only selling,
which happens to be true.
Ooh, yeah.
Somebody's
They're
selling.
waiting to sell.
They're selling to you.
It's juicy.
And a lot of people, they're buying the dips. They're buying the dips on NVIDIA. They're buying the dips. Like, I don't know why the fuck you're buying the dips from 140 and then, when you go back for the split. If I was to buy NVIDIA, I guarantee you my level is here. I want 50% discount. You guys can place your orders here. I would wait for this. AI is just an idea. I have friends in the tech space, and I asked him, I was like, man, did you fire all the people and put the AI instead? He's like, no, man. It's not how it works. Right? You have to be patient, especially on long term. We waited, I don't know how long we waited for Pfizer. You guys remember?
Yeah.
Like, for Pfizer, we waited for fucking time and lots of time for it to drag down. And when you think about this setup, right? I mean, it's for people that know what the hell they're doing. This is a setup once in a lifetime that you might not get it again, right? Does everybody know what this looks like? Do you guys remember the Wyckoff? This is a perfect spring. This is a test. They're gonna bring it back, and then we're going off.
You think they bring it back?
I hope so. I wouldn't mind adding a little bit more. So patience, honestly, is, I know people say patience is important, but this is a job where patience is super important. Otherwise, you're gonna pay a big price to somebody because your lack of patience. Oh, Tessie is about to collapse. Yeah, Tessie is about to go down on 77. What did Amazon do? Oh, this was on our short list. So now I'm trading. Well,
You see what's going on in Japan?
I saw that. Yeah, they dropped the market, right? Like crazy today.
Market's down 5.
Wow. What is their limit down? Do they have limit down rules?
I think it's 7.5.
What does that mean? They lock it if it happens?
Yeah.
So basically, yeah, they lock the
Take a
market.
break.
I believe it's 30 minutes. They stop, and they did a lot of funny shit in that 30 minutes. All the
Like a
clients were
halt.
called.
Yeah.
We had it in 2020. They fucked me really good on the limit downs. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe it's just crazy they can just do that.
It's to protect you.
Yeah, but I only ever get destroyed when they do it.
Okay, well, now you understand how government works.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amazon's gonna dip to 173 here, maybe tomorrow.
What would be your level on Amazon where you're definitely
Buy?
expect not to buy to where I guess I haven't charted the balances just to where I guess you're like this could go to I think 140 is where I looked would be the next spot.
I wouldn't, you know, I bought it
Yeah,
initially at
143.
88. I wouldn't touch it till 100.
Okay.
Like I would not do it, no. So here, this would be the level. They will have to bring it back here. I'd buy here, 95. But no, not before then. I did add this one. I know Sunny probably added this one as well. This one is okay. I mean, I wouldn't say it's, you know, it's fairly new. This is the J&J spinoff. I do have a stop loss on this because when it's new like this, you know, if you do dip below certain levels, they can catch a little bit of a down movement, and if there's any retail traders on it, all they see is a descending triangle. So I'm keeping it here, but if I was to hit about, you know, maybe 25 on this, 23, 25, I'll probably take some money off of it, right? At least a little bit of my initial investment, just to protect it, because I don't know how well they will do or not do. Wolf, I added a little bit more. Of course, they're bleeding because all of the semis are bleeding. So I'll keep an eye on this and see how we do. But you know, it has a chance to dip here, probably to this node here at 13. I would add there as well. Crowd, I wouldn't touch it. You guys are welcome to buy it here. And I see a lot of people using some RSIs and MACD saying that
It's oversold, Shorty. It's a good buy.
Man, I'm telling you, this has yeah.
The RSI flips so hard. Are you serious?
This has bad news coming for it, and so does Microsoft. I think Microsoft potentially next week. They're gonna announce some stuff. So, and imagine what happens with the retail once they see this magical trend line. And you see the volume here; it's slowly creeping up. And this is 4 weeks in a row now. So let's see how they. That's a very, very bearish monthly candle here.
Is that because of the wick high?
Well, this is a bearish kicker candle, and those don't miss. Like right here, this is a pretty dangerous setup. I mean, even if you go from here to here, you're looking at 340, which would match somewhere up to here. I think this is doable, and there'll be a nice correction, right? When you think about it, this would be what, about 15%. I think that's a fair drop. It needs to go somewhere close to 200, somewhere like right here.
The next stock scan we do, we should do some look at some longer dated puts maybe and some stuff. That Amazon one that you did, I'm like, God damn, it's short in Amazon. Already down 10%.
No, Amazon was, I mean, Amazon, we said, I think it was right at the top when we talked about it. That it was a good
Yeah, it was
short.
right around 200.
Yeah. It really didn't change their model at all for me to justify the price that went through. If you guys remember, this is a massive.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, you do remember this because we traded this a lot.
And shorted it.
Yeah.
Made a lot.
I mean, 880 days you accumulated, and here comes a candle on a monthly that looks like volume like this. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right.
Then you peak above it and you get this. Well, at least you're going to go to 144. I know that for a fact. and then we're gonna see some buyers come in here and right,
Chop,
but,
chop, 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 and come
Yeah.
back down.
but my orders would be at 95 on this. I would not pay a penny more.
Or 10. Just kidding.
10 would be good on this. If I can get 10, I'd buy it.
If you got 10, maybe you don't want it anymore.
Well, that's true. Something big happened, right?
Just kidding.
Big true. But yeah, we can do a stock scan this weekend, see if there's anything else that's coming up. But we found some decent ones lately. And I'm actually beating S&P 500 with my long-term portfolio. So it's a good sign.
Very good.
All right, guys. Well, I'll see you guys tomorrow, and I'll schedule the class, and we can go from there.
Thanks, Shorty.
Thanks, Shorty.
Thank you.